when we were talking about doing Munch House and the possibility of shooting it in Rome, I got very excited. I think it was as important to work in Rome as it was to make a movie anywhere. And it seemed to be, well, Fellini was one of my great heroes, and so to be able to work in his studio effectively was magical, and be able to work with Dante Ferretti, who designed some of his films, and Peter Rotino. I was working with people that I just admired and loved. What was funny about it was that once I got onto the ground of Cinecittà, I think Federico was very jealous because I had a bigger budget than he had ever had. I was working with his people, and it became a very funny game because I had my office in the middle of the art department, in the middle of Dante Ferretti's world. So when people came to talk to me about whatever we were doing, they had to come through and see the work that Dante was doing. So they understood the world we were creating. And every so often, Federico would come in, look around like he owned the place, and bless a few people and leave. And there was one wonderful day where I was in my office trying to work, and I couldn't get out of the door because he was shooting a scene from Intervista, and he had Marcello Mastroianni in a tree, dressed as Mandrake the magician, right outside of my office door, and the whole crew was there, and I wasn't allowed to leave while they were shooting the scene. So it was very funny. It was like him saying, "This is my territory, and you will play my games." And I actually loved him for that. But I think when we were working on the film, I would walk around Rome every weekend. I did, on the days off, I would just walk and walk. And I began to realize that Rome, being this extraordinary Baroque city, was really the essence of the film. Bernini would take marble and turn it into transparent, translucent gauze, or marble would fly. And that was kind of the spirit of Munchausen. So I felt the city was helping make the film. It was pointing me in different directions as we were going through it. The project was crazy because we had a German producer named Thomas Schuley who was as crazy as Munchausen, I think. And he induced me to come to Rome because it was going to be much cheaper. And we had $23.5 million from the studio. And I think and I storyboarded the whole movie. Everything was there in detail. And the first budget was, I think, $60 million. They fired that accountant. The next budget was $40 million. They fired that accountant. The next budget was $38 million. They fired the accountant. And then the fourth accountant said $23.5 million is the budget. And he stayed. And yet, by the 6th week of shooting, all of the money was gone. And we had a 21-week shoot. So it was an utter nightmare. Maybe you only want to be involved in one of those things once in your life. But it was an extraordinary experience. And what I loved about it was we made a good film. And the film doesn't, what you see on screen is not the nightmare of making it. What you see is the beauty and the magic of the people that were actually trying to do the work. My assistant would, because I was walking around every day on the set like this monster, something out of Wagner's Ring, Albrecht the Dwarf, all dark and angry. And then we would look at the rushes each at the end of the day, and there would be all this beauty on the screen, and she never understood how we were alchemists. We were turning the most awful, ugly base metal into a kind of gold. But that's what sometimes can happen in movies. So it was extraordinary, and I think every day it would be looking at the evening sun as it filtered through the pines that are at Cinecittà, and the light would filter through, and you thought, the world is beautiful, and that would get us through another day.
What about you?